Hey, aloha, guys. We got a group here. Yes. All of a sudden, I look there and I'm like, wait, who's that? Hello.
just just so everybody knows, I was sitting backstage going like this. She
It was
wasn't
so
answering.
funny. It's so funny. I'm sitting here looking for a new article that I found on one thing, but not on their YouTube site yet. And I'm like, what the heck? Oh, yeah. Dogs know that mom is live, which means they get treats. Yeah, you guys get treats because mom is live. And also, but oh my gosh, there's a lot going on right now, Sleuth.
There is. There's a ton of stuff going on. Ton of stuff.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Just some quick lives because I know there's a lot of people, and there is a case here in Hawaii I wanted to just bring up at the top of this live before we dive into three different cases I wanted to bring up today. Sleuth and I've been talking, but we've got, let's see, we got patriotism in the house and be Tim. How you, my dear? Tim and I have been in like multiple lives. We're in your live, my live, talking back and forth. Yeah, it's fun. Hello, Miss Seal and Delana and Kathleen. Sorry, guys, I'm zooming through this real quick, but I made it over. You'll be in chat, away from chat. That sounds good. Thanks for letting us know. Am I missing any? I know I'm missing people. There's Lioness. Okay, here we go. Delana, see, my daughter could be tending to see. Yeah, see, that's it. If you just moved here, the two of you guys all moved out here. Okay, I'd have babysitters for the dogs and we'd be set. I think it works. So, hey there. Hey, Barbara. So, before we dig in, and there's a lot. I mean, I have 2 pages of notes today right now. Lot going on with Veronica and Jillian's case. As you guys know, today in court sounds like it was extremely emotionally volatile in there.
Yeah.
Plus, we all know, a judge has lost his job in relation to this case, which in my eyes just proves a lot of what we were saying, that people were scared to speak
Good.
up if they speak up. Yeah. And well, and I don't know, I haven't researched this completely. Yeah, okay. Was the only reason why he lost the job because he spoke to News Nation?
Oh,
That I
maybe.
don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's sounding like. But we don't know. We don't know the full thing yet. And we will probably at some point, I have a feeling. And then outside of that, we have Caleb. Caleb, not much happening in his disappearance. But would you stop growling?
Here we have a dog fight.
Yep. She's like, so okay, I do have the Cheetos with me.
I was gonna say Chris might not be on.
Oh, is Chris not on? That might be. You're right. Would you guys stop being Chris updated? And I wonder if that's what happened. Yeah. In now, hopefully. Okay. Let me know if not. Hopefully they're barking right now. Good. We're on. We're good then. Thank God. Yes. Now you know what I deal with the whole time. But hey, Sleuths Investigate, how you doing? And patriotism is back. Yeah, Caleb, what I wanted later on, we're going to do some discussion about all of the different, lot of speculation going on there. And a lot of the different ideas could truly be what happened. So perhaps a lot of people coming into chats talking about what they think might happen. I want to make sure we do this in a respectful way, but at the same point, we do have to look at what may have happened to him because it's been 6 weeks. If we don't keep talking about him, people are going to forget about him.
Right. Yeah, and we're seeing that in a lot of these cases, right? They were all like the hot case at one point or another, but as other cases come up, we kind of forget about those other cases. We get so busy, talking about so many that we forget about the Madalenas, the Elijah. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's what it just is what it is. But we got to do our part to try to bring people back to remember the different cases too.
We have to. And that's why I saw you talking about Madalena's a few minutes ago. I actually, when I was sending who I'm going to share in just a second here, actually, I'm going to pull her up right now, who's gone missing out of Hawaii here. I was sending family members a sample of the poster that I do so they knew the information I needed. And the sample I did was actually Lena from Texas. And I was like,
Okay.
wow, she's still gone too. And
Yeah.
people aren't talking about her anymore, anything like that. So, but I did want to share with you guys. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Elijah. A lot happening with Jesse. Couple fundraisers getting ready to happen this week. Vigil happened over the weekend. So wanted to bring people up to date on that also. But before we get going, I wanted to share real quickly Shaylin, her case. She went missing on Monday. Her mom dropped her off at school at 8 a.m. She's 12 years old, guys. Middle school, 7th grade. 4'9", 83 pounds. She literally, mom dropped her off at school like normal. She goes to Honolulu Middle School. And mom dropped her off, spent the whole day going to work, doing her normal stuff that she does. At 2:45, she went to go pick Shaylin up. Shaylin was not at school. She's looking around, trying to find things out. At 5 p.m., she gets a phone call from the school that Shaylin never showed up at school that day. She'd
That
been gone for
kills me.
hours.
Like, these schools have got to do better. They've got to do better with telling us whenever these
Yep.
kids are missing.
Bingo, bingo. And you know what? I'm actually a little even more frustrated in this case. And the reason why is there's evidence she may have shown back up at the school yesterday. And then she disappeared again. And what is being said is at 5 p.m., found out she was never in school. Mom's checking her phone. The phone is off. The location sharing is off. However, she started getting phone calls on yesterday morning. Oh, yeah, my child saw Shaylin at school. She's at school right now and all. By the time she got to school, mom got to school, from what I'm understanding here, she had gone missing again. So she had literally probably a case of a runaway, but like we've said, runaways are in danger no matter what. 12 years old, they're really in danger. And she probably came back to say hi to people and all that, and that would have been the time to catch her and make sure she was safe. But she's out again. Okay, she looks so sweet in these pictures. I've seen pictures of her holding extended family member children, babies and stuff, like so sweet. And her friends are saying they think she might be in like Kapolei and Aiea here on Oahu. But no one's been able to track her since then. No one has any idea where she is on the island. She could be in Makakilo. So for those of you in my Hawaii Ohana who watch, please help share out her poster. Guys, this is a 12-year-old, okay, junior high, middle school, 4'9", 83 pounds. She is wandering around somewhere out there, and all it takes is her running into one wrong person, and the story changes horribly. So please help share that out. And if you're on the west side of the island, please keep your eyes out. She's 12. She's 12, patriotism. Thank you, Kathleen. So I'm going to make sure that poster is posted on the Lokomai Life Facebook group, as well as my own personal Facebook group, Facebook. But we need to bring her home. And her mom says this is not like her to not come home from school. But we all know junior high school. You're kind of in that you're trying to push how far you can go. So hopefully we'll find. How far is that from Hickam? It is not too bad. Hickam is in the central part of the island. This is the west side, so probably another 20-minute drive from Hickam.
As I said, the
I'd
whole
say.
island is 40 miles.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. The area she went missing from, I used to work in, and I live on the east side. I would drive that every day. So it's just frustrating to me that no one contacted mom until 5 p.m. And then people started seeing her the next day, and
Like, how do you not
Oh,
reach out at
oh,
that point? Like, where was the phone call? Like, "Hey, we just seen her at the
yeah,
school." Like, where is everybody, you know? 12 is
exactly.
way too young to
No,
be out walking around doing her own thing. She needs to be
exactly.
found.
And Hawaii is not, people think it's safe. No, we are no different than any other big city. No
Right.
different. And that can be a rough area of
Honestly,
the
probably
island.
worse in some
Mhm.
aspects, I would say, as far as, like the young women and children and things like that, the things that does happen in Hawaii, because you have a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
visitors in and out of those areas that can very easily, cause harm to
Yep.
somebody and just get on a plane and fly back out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And just as easily, you could very easily grab someone as young as this and not
Right.
scare people, but literally act like they're your child and jump on a plane and head back to the mainland or
Right.
to Japan or China or in, well, that would be a little harder without a passport, but
Mhm.
wouldn't take much. It would not take much. So we need to find her. She's been gone for today's day 3, and it needs to be, yeah, she needs to be home. Look, and my daughter travels alone to Hawaii. You were a hot mess. I bet, Delana. I bet you. Because it's, yeah, yeah, no, you keep an eye out around you. The theater I'm working at right now, we literally walk with each other out to the cars afterwards. It's a normal big city, guys,
Right.
really.
Right.
So, yeah, so that just wanted to share that, make sure everyone could see that. And then what I wanted to do is let's start looking at a couple different things. I don't know what has our updates look like. Okay, so looks like a lot of people want to talk about Elijah and then Caleb and Jillian, all that kind of come balanced. So Lioness, good point right there. You have friends going to Hawaii alone for August. You know what? It's a wonderful place to go. Just be smart. Be smart. I'm not saying it's a horrible, dangerous, whatever. Just
Mm.
be smart.
Yeah, no, you
Again,
gotta
there
be
you go.
vigilant. Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. So, okay. So, I don't know if you have a certain thing you'd like to cover first.
If you
Other,
don't mind, let's go ahead and dive
yeah,
into Elijah. I mean, let's
let's do
get
it.
those case updates out there. I know that
Yes.
Caleb's is a little bit shorter. We could probably do him after and then go
Yeah.
into the moms.
The last bit there. So, okay, I'm going to pull this up. So, we have a couple things for you, Asia. Number one, as many of you guys may or may not have heard, today Jesse Veng, the I'm Mr. Macho Man, and I'm going to teach this little boy how to become a man, um, was seen and pled not guilty for neglect. Okay, a major issue that we're starting to run into in this case, which I think we all expected would happen no matter what. There's also a lot of things also going, which I'll get with next. But one of the things that we did have, not sure how many of you guys actually saw on, I think it was Friday of last week. The one second, let me make sure I've got the right article up here. Yes, here we go. Okay, here we go. The police chief actually did do some updates on Elijah's case. And have you seen this yet, Sleuth?
I did not see this particular interview. No, I was actually waiting to watch it with you because I love giving you my honest and true first opinions.
Amen. And I'll be joining you on that because as you just saw, as I pulled this back, I literally only got about that far into it before I got pulled away.
I love that they
So,
did this though, because this needed to happen in Elijah's case.
right.
These updates with the police and things like that. I'm really excited they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those weird cases because I think we all know kind of who's involved in his disappearance. But because of the fact that those people are in jail now, it kind of feels like everything stops. And we don't get more updates. We don't have all this other stuff because it's all being done behind the scenes. So I'm really happy. So let's go ahead and let's start this and make sure I got my volume up, closed captions. Here we go. Just let me know if you need me to stop it for you. Today.
Well, as of today, I can't really talk about the investigation. There is an investigation taking place, but at the same time, we continue to search. Um, that search has really just continued to expand. We have focal areas that we believe we're searching in the right areas, and we'll continue to do so. But that search right now has really focused primarily on about 15 to 20 square miles that we've thoroughly checked. Like I said, we'll continue to check that area, but it's also led to expanding on that area. As you've seen prior, we've had tips and leads that led us to a landfill, for instance. But even as recently as earlier in the week, we were out doing kayak searches.
Can you check the volume?
Yeah. It was volume that.
It's just a little bit
Okay.
low.
Oh,
I think
on
my hearing is
your
going
end, let me
bad
pull you
now.
down. You know what? I find the more I use closed captioning, the more I have to. I've got a problem. Only
You
one
can barely
earbud
hear.
works.
You want to send me the link and I'll volume boost it?
Okay. Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that.
I swear,
Because
like,
I
I don't
don't
know
have
if
that.
it's like, I swear every video I watch lately, like, I have to boost it. I don't
Right.
know.
Boost it.
Mm-hmm.
No. I know I'm fine in one ear, but not the other. So I wasn't sure if it was that.
Maybe
Let
it's
me
just
just
the
send it to
audio on
you.
their end, like
It
they
could
didn't put
be.
it out both sides. Okay.
Right. Let me see. There you are there. Let me just share that out. There you go. And let's switch it over. I'm going to stop sharing so you can do it. Yeah, I'm happy they're doing that. We know that they were looking while you're pulling it up and everything. We know that they were looking for stuff, trying to find him the whole time. They did look in that landfill area. Most of us remember when that happened and we just had total
Right.
Quentin vibes and everything. Nothing found there. This is what's so sad is I think we all know we are looking at the possibility of finding a deceased body, most likely.
Right. How far in were
And
you?
literally maybe about a minute. I
Okay.
already shut it down, but probably about a minute is all.
Okay.
Yep, they're still and that's what's good to know though, Click and Go, is they are actively looking.
Right.
Okay, kayaking. That was amazing to hear that they're actually out kayaking looking for him. So here we go. Okay, go for it.
Seen prior, we've had tips and leads that led us to a landfill, for instance. But even as recently as earlier in the week, we were out doing kayak searches. Most recently, we've been doing aerial searches with planes. So we continue to search in just about any way you can think.
Are you searching for a body?
We're searching for Elijah. I don't know how that will turn out, but we are searching for Elijah.
I'm happy they say it that way.
I have a 4.5-year-old. He's not going to have survived out there by himself for this long. You've been on record saying that you don't think this is an abduction.
Correct.
So do you think he was trafficked? Do you think he was killed or died?
We have.
Wow. First of all, let me just say this reporter. Like, can we take some freaking sensitivity classes? Like, you're talking about a baby.
She's just, but what I'm wondering is, as this goes further and further out, is he becoming less of a human and more of a story?
A case.
For these people? A case. Yeah, exactly.
Just
That's
another
all I can
case.
think of.
Just another child that was unalived by their family. And I feel like, I don't know if it's just true crime in general, if it's the world, like, I don't know why we're getting to the point where we are seeing people just get cold to the fact that these are actual children. This is an actual child that has gone somewhere. So I don't know.
We forget completely about it. No, that's exactly it. Everyone's gotten, and we do it here on YouTube too. Okay, I'm going to try not to get into that too much, but yes, we do. And also, Red Rock, no, once I started using closed captions and stuff like that, I've noticed my hearing has taken a noticeable decline.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, you got it. Okay, folks.
No evidence whatsoever at this point. Again, we've had over 10,000, video files that we've looked at. We've had over 1,500 tips and leads that we've tracked down. We've vetted, and we have nothing leading us to believe that he was abducted in any way, and nothing to say that he just simply walked off. This is a tight-knit community. You can't walk around without people knowing what's going on. A young boy such as Elijah would be reported very quickly.
So how frustrating is that for you then, that with it being such a tight-knit community, that you haven't been able to find him?
Well, you mentioned, having a child of your own. I have a child myself, and I can't stop thinking about, my 14-year-old daughter. and just equating through life, all the scares that you've had. That's what's frustrating. We're on day 52 now, and we still haven't found Elijah.
When I think I asked this at the news conference, and I'll ask it again. When was the last time anybody other than Jesse Veng or Katrina Bauer saw Elijah Vue? I know there's those surveillance pictures from Friday. That was 4 days before he went missing.
Yeah, I can't give an exact date on that as far as the investigation, but
have you been able to uncover images or talk to witnesses about people who have seen him after those pictures?
We've talked to numerous people. So in the early days, we get questions, and you see Facebook messages and stuff, and people questioning, when I mentioned that we just did a kayak search, and they're questioning, why are we checking waterways right now? Well, we're not just now checking those waterways. We've been checking them all along. On day one, we had people out on the waterways.
I think people fail to realize, like, the police don't need you to tell them how to investigate. They're fully aware to, like, look at social media, to look at I mean, in older kids, look at their devices, look at, common places a child would go. Like, they're aware.
We get this idea that it's like, oh, well, you haven't mentioned this, so you must not have looked. Yeah, they have looked. They know what to look for in cases like this. It's not just the local. They've got other agencies out there on top of it, double and triple checking what they've done. And it's so frustrating to watch at times. Drives me
I think
crazy.
part of it is because there's always constantly new people coming into true crime. And so I'm trying to imagine, like, the first time that my mom, for instance, watched a case, and like her reactions were all like, oh, they should look at there, and they should do this, and they should do that. And I'm like, well, yeah, they do. Like, like,
right, exactly.
You don't have to call in a tip to tell them to do that, though. And I think that's where things get kind of mixed up and lost in the shuffle and things like that. But as far as this lady sounds aggressive, it's like she's trying to be like a Fox 11 Nancy Grace.
Barbara,
like, she reminds me of.
She's Barbara Walters. She's going after the story, and I'm going to get that. I think to some degree, especially when you're new to true crime, the first time you hear about taking someone's device and going through it and extracting stuff, you're like, oh, wow, they can do all this stuff. Later on, you're like, oh, yeah, whatever. So, I think you got a point there. Okay, how often do people come in versus have they been in true crime for a long time and understand what is done? And
but again, we could check until you've actually been out on, say, the West Twin River, like I was with my staff. It's just daunting when you see just how mass area that is to search. And we'll continue to do so. We know that there's been a Milwaukee case where somebody just turned up now that went missing in January. Another case where somebody went missing in December, I believe, out of Oshkosh. So I'll continue to search rivers too until we find him. But we continue to search everywhere. We had neighborhood canvases where we literally went into every home, talked to everybody that lived in each home. We checked every room, every cabinet, everything in those homes. It doesn't get much more thorough than that.
That actually surprises me that they did that. And props to the community for not fighting against them while they did that. Yeah.
Yep. How many times do we hear about, no, that's my privacy to have, my house, no one coming. No, this is a little one. Let them go through, rule things out, stuff like that. That's awesome to hear. But think about how detailed that is. Going into every cabinet, going into looking at all these areas, and then the going back, which I'm sure they did also, especially for the outdoor area. You go look at a shed once, and then you circle around and check it out a second time, just in case he's there now. So,
in cooperation with all the community. We've done drone searches, and the software, I'm not a drone expert, but the software that they tell me can show disrupted ground. It can show decomposing body. It can show coloration differences. It picks up on those things and tags those. And again, the data that comes out, when I say not leaving an area or a stone unturned, it really doesn't. Like, we're checking everything.
When you mentioned it's like 15 to 20 mile kind of area that you focus that search. I mean, it sounds like you've turned over every stone, you've checked everything.
Yeah. Well, you would like to think so, but again, you bring up the 15 to 20 square miles, and I think that looks fantastic even on a map. However, if you do some research, Manitowoc County alone is almost 1,500 square miles. So even that vast area
Wow.
doesn't come close to covering the county. So again, just like being out on the West Twin River and seeing what a daunting task that is, it's no different when you look at all the forest and swampland and everything else.
I think that was my initial concern whenever Jesse said that he walked off, was that waterway right there next door. And
Yep.
and if he didn't walk off, right, and we have no idea what time of day or when
Mm.
he could have been put into that waterway, who knows
Right.
how far his little body could have ended up away. And I
Knows.
hate to even say that, but it's been a
It's true.
realistic thought, because how easy would it be in
Right.
an area like that to claim that a child wandered off at that age and to do something like put them in the water to dispose of them.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And click and go. They said that initially, yeah, they went through all the houses in the areas, into cabinets, all sorts of stuff. People were good about opening up their doors and saying, yeah, come on in, take a look. And yeah, with what you're saying with the river and all, it is, you get such a small little kiddo. Okay, and you get into water, especially if it's fast running and all that, they need to take a look at how the currents. And that's one of the things that always amazed me when I started learning more about true crime is currents and how the currents move and how, okay, yeah, something may have happened up here, but much further down, it could be like literally tens of miles, if not hundreds, before they can find something, depending on how the water is moving in that area. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other thing is that um you think about a case that we just recently covered, Audrey Cunningham.
Yep.
The water moving and things like that. Tim Miller was talking about how difficult it would have been to find her and how far
Yep.
downstream they would have had to have
True.
likely gone had he not weighed her down. And there was a
Yes.
chance that she could have gotten out to that bigger body of water and then never been found.
Never, never.
And you look at cases like Elijah and you think about like Ariel Sellers,
Yep.
comes to mind.
You're never
She's
gonna find.
right, she's probably in the water, right? There's a very good chance of that. You look at cases like Arden Pepion or Papoyan. I never know how to say her last name, but she went missing on the side of a lake or on the side of a moving body of water, and they have never
Right.
found her. Dylan Eller is another one. 3-year-old went missing while there was flooding near his home and still has never been found. Like water is just one of those things that it just, and so
Well,
I can't imagine. Go ahead.
and we're gonna talk later about Caleb. Caleb's another case. We don't know what happened to him, but we do know he disappeared fairly near water, Corpus Christi. And anytime you live near a area of water, you lose a lot of people who are never seen again due to that water. I've talked about the Elks Club. I go to the Elks Club and they actually have a monument there to those lost at sea. Ariel's not the only one in Hawaii. I mean, Peter Boy Kema, okay, is another case of a little guy who was gotten rid of by the people who killed him in the water. And but what we start seeing is we also start seeing tons of people who go missing around these areas of water. And some of them are truly okay, foul play cases. Some of them are even here. We get people who go out fishing. And also, I know that's been an issue on Caleb's case because people are like, well, there's a lot of people who went missing or something like that. Sometimes it's just water is one of those, it hides people so well because of currents, because of how deep it could get. Oh, okay. I'm not even get into some of the other reasons why.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What else we have in Manitowoc County?
Why focus on that specific area? I mean, have
Because
tips and leads
yeah.
have led you to that area?
Yeah, well, we've had tips and leads, and then also, again, knowing that we have no knowledge that this child simply walked off and that it wasn't an abduction, we follow all the tips and leads that we have had, and then along with any video evidence that we've had, it leads us to believe that we're in the right area, especially when you match that with research of missing and endangered children.
How quickly into the investigation did you realize that there wasn't an abduction and that it was something else?
I'm not certain on that. The telltale time period where the whole focus changed was probably in that first half hour, because we responded for a child
Wow.
that simply walked off, believing that would have been in a couple minutes, a few minutes prior. We've had those kind
I
of
know.
calls here in Two Rivers in the past, and everybody races out because, again, we have children. We've all been children. We may have siblings. Everybody can relate to that.
And they did, like, their whole community came out.
Out. Yep, they were out. You saw people saying, even to this day, you have people going out there. And, but they were out walking the street. People were talking about, oh, yeah, I drove by the neighborhood last night. You could see people walking all over the place. Everyone came together. If it truly, and it is interesting what he said, just within hours, you recognize, okay, wait, this child did not walk that far that quickly, if we're catching it that quickly. Okay, it's kind of like with monkey and all that. I mean, children can only walk so far in a certain amount of time, especially at that age, 3 years old. Nah. And so they knew really quick. They knew quicker than I think a lot of us realized.
Yeah, absolutely, especially once Jesse started to speak. I
Oh
mean,
God.
just in
Yeah.
general, so.
Mm-hmm.
I myself went out in my personal vehicle looking for this child and was talking to everybody I could, stopping at businesses. Typically, that's what happens, and within minutes, it's usually a mistake. He got picked up by a different bus, or a family member, unbeknownst to somebody, picked them up. It's usually something like that, and it's reported fairly quickly, or they're simply found at a local playground or something. So that's what we were hoping. And in this case, two things happen when that's reported. You're out searching and somebody's investigating. Soon into that, we learned that it was several hours prior that he may have walked off. So that changed the whole focus at that point, because now we had an endangered child out with what was reported as possibly only a blanket in very cold temperatures in winter, and 3 years old. A 3-year-old can't care for themselves. So that's when everything changed, and we contacted FBI, TCI, all our neighboring jurisdictions, police, fire, paramedics, DNR, National Guard was out with a helicopter. Everything was all hands on deck, searching everything we could.
You mentioned the blanket. It was found about 5 days later.
Right.
What significance did that play in the investigation, as it was several miles away from where Elijah Vue was reported missing?
We were already searching, and I would say that was in a large search area, maybe not the primary search area, but definitely an area of interest. So when that was found, really all it did was again tell us that we feel we're searching in the right areas, and expanded upon the areas that we were searching.
I know another news.
Interesting.
That does comfort me a little bit, because that was away from the water where that blanket was found.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting with that, because so many of us were like, okay, could that have just been dumped there and stuff like that? But again, you listen to how they're talking. When we talk about speculation and all, we tend to zero in and focus on the speculation, where what they're doing is they're like, okay, this becomes options. Okay, it still could be that he was somewhere in that area and dropped it because it was in the vicinity that we were looking at. Of course, other options are other things. But interesting with that. But yeah, you're right. It was definitely not, it was the opposite from the water. It wasn't necessarily right next to the water.
Yeah, it was like
we thought.
inland.
Yeah.
Like, he would have had to have crossed a bridge. We were talking about that the one day. He would have had to have crossed a bridge to leave his blanket where he left it.
Right. Which scared the
took a
hell
boat.
out of me just thinking of. Yeah,
I was like, or he
taking
took a boat.
or something. So yeah. But that even got me, because the moment I started thinking, oh, if a child has to cross a bridge, oh my God, think how dangerous that would have been for the child, how scared they must be if they're doing that on their own. And and at night on top of it, how dark it was.
Right.
And stuff.
Organization captured video of that dinosaur shoe. Have you been able to confirm that that was in fact Elijah's shoe as part of the description when you guys put out that he might have these dinosaur shoes?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Okay. And then I know that Jesse Veng said that there was his teenage son, he'd gotten him on the bus that morning, and that Elijah was still sleeping at that point. Have you been able to talk with that other child, and has he been helpful and been able to tell you anything that he saw Elijah that morning? Or
yeah, so I can't go into details on that, but I can say that everybody was spoken to.
You just won't. That he saw him, that you can't.
Well, this is a juvenile, so I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. I know there's all these citizens that are out there searching. Are you working in conjunction with them? Are you giving them any sort of direction? I mean, these people you talk to them. They just searched the Avery salvage yard earlier this week. Now some of those people think they're hopeful to still find Elijah alive.
Right.
I mean, at some point you feel like you feel like you're being honest with them and guiding them in where they should be searching and kind of what their expectation should be?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been. As early as today, I was reaching out to DCI, who is working as the go-between with us and the family. So as early as today, I was having those conversations, and we continue to do so. So before the public actually hears anything, we're actually having those conversations with the family because, one, I think that's the most important, and they are the ones actually coordinating a lot of these public searches. So I've mentioned it before, and I'll continue to mention, if people want to assist in any way, speak with the family and work with those coordinated search efforts because they are the ones coordinating with us.
So
That's awesome that they're working with the
is
family to help
right.
point where the searches need to go. It's almost like how they would with EquiSearch or some other outside organization, but it's all just this local community, which
Right.
I mean, it does kind of throw me off a little bit that they're okay with the family searching considering what could be found. But obviously, it's
Well, this is the way I also
they
see
need the
it.
resources.
Yeah, and I see that's exactly it. I see what you're saying, the fear that, oh my gosh, if a family member happens to come across something that, I
Mhm.
mean, that scars you for life. On the other hand, at a certain point, resources become so thin because you have other things happening in the community at the same time that need police activity. And so by using, if you can't get in the big EquiSearch groups and stuff like that, it's nice that law enforcement is trusting family to take the lead and communicate and treating them like equals,
Right.
okay, in a search effort. And
When it
that's,
also tells you that they don't suspect like the extended family members either. If they're communicating literal areas of interest to this extended family, it puts that confidence and trust into that extended family that, hey, they're on the up and up.
right,
So if you guys want to help search and things like that, or want to
exactly,
help donate towards search efforts, water,
right,
stuff like that, that's something to look
right,
into because it's obvious that the police are backing them in their
right.
efforts.
And they are doing a lot of stuff. In fact, one of the things I was going to mention, actually, I'll throw this in right here. This Friday, the 19th, day after tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the McAdowell Theater in Manitowoc, they're actually having a benefit fundraiser. They're going to be having a magic show and a bubble show. And they're just asking people who want to come and watch the show, donate a minimum of $5 toward, so that way they can continue the search efforts, the reward, all those different things that they need money for. And by the police supporting them by saying, yeah, they're kind of like our equals in this, and we're trying to communicate with them, like you say, the community will feel more comfortable going out and know that they're not going to be scammed necessarily or things like that. This group is really there trying to do what's best for Elijah.
Yep.
Blue hearts
are
for
they in that
Elijah.
15-20 mile area that you are specifically focusing on?
They have been, and then any areas that we expand on, that's what we're talking with them and coordinating with.
Now, you also put out this ask for people to share video of this vehicle. What is the connection to the vehicle to this investigation, and has anything come out of that?
Right. I can't go into any of the details of the vehicle because there is an investigation taking place.
Do you feel like you've been forthcoming with the public? I know you held one news conference in the past month, more than a month, I guess, and just kind of directed people to your social media page. And when you have a missing child, do you think you should have been out there more, like every day talking, or?
I actually think everybody's been very appreciative, and we've gotten nothing but positive feedback about how transparent we've been throughout the whole search.
Has this been overwhelming for the department? I know City Council approved extra funding.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. It's a priority, and we really just have to react to what we've been given here. So when you talk about the expenses and that contingency that they put into our budget, it's because everybody's main focus is finding Elijah.
And are you still, I know you originally had kind of a command post set up. I'm assuming that, because the woman up front told me a couple of weeks ago that was no longer, maybe it was a city council member who said that the main command post. So is the investigation scaled back? Not as many people obviously don't have assistance from other counties coming in on a daily basis, or is that still happening?
So that is still happening. It's not scaled back as much as it's been reconfigured. So especially with all the technology that we have, there isn't a necessity to have everybody in one location. In fact,
Right.
it doesn't help us.
I think it's something that people forget in a lot of these cases. Like, just because you don't physically see them doesn't mean that they're not searching. Unlike,
Yeah.
the people in our chat who keep disappearing. Just because we don't physically see them doesn't mean
MIA.
that they're not still there.
It's
Just kidding.
so funny because, well, no, it's something we all do. We all get so involved in watching. We're all like, wow. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're with other people. Let's say awesome. He's been missing since February. Delana, I think you're correct. I'm trying to remember what day he went missing. Let me see if I can pull up stuff. And using your finger tonight, is that your excuse, Sia? Is that it? Uh-huh. And also, but it's yeah. And outside of that, just because we don't see them, for example, okay, they can be doing technological stuff. They can be looking at phones. They can be looking at tracking people and what they're saying. Okay, I guarantee you, they're keeping an eye on what's happening with Jesse and everyone in jail. Jesse and mom in jail, and there's a lot that's still going. February 20th. There you go. You got it. See, I have a problem talking and searching at the same time for things.
You're
And
fine.
also, and also, but yeah, no, it's really, you can see they're working on this. You can see, like he keeps saying, he has his own children. So every
Right.
time he's focusing on this stuff, it's his own children that he brings into the back of his mind. How would he want someone to treat his case if it was his child who was missing?
Right.
And I honestly believe that he is doing everything in his okay, that he can. To be honest, I do believe that.
I think that's something that, like, and I kind of talked to you about this a little bit earlier. Like,
Mhm.
that's something in myself. Like, I've had this inner turmoil about like, what would we want to happen in our
Right.
missing child's case? What would you want to happen? Would you want people discussing it for years or nonstop, or would you want it to be one of those things that kind of like peaks and then just disappears?
Mhm.
Would you want it to never get
Right.
the limelight at all? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, this is going to be completely off
No, I know where you're.
topic, but
Yeah.
whenever you look at like cases like Summer Wells, there are people who still cover her daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that really a bad thing though?
No. No.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, but then when you see cases like Elijah, I mean, gosh, his face was everywhere for the first like
Oh
week or
my
two.
God. Yes.
And now
Yeah, he
it's
was like a
kind of one of those
Sebastian.
things. Right.
Yeah,
And
he
then as
was
soon
a
as Sebastian
Sebastian.
went missing, Elijah like kind of just
Yep.
disappeared.
Nope.
I think
Exactly.
that's the issue. Like, where's the balance, and what would you really want to
Right.
happen? And
Yeah.
like, I'm curious, like, what you guys in the chat like genuinely think about stuff like this. Whenever we're listening to like
Yeah.
this officer is just, he just wants people out there to keep searching, keep looking. They still need help,
Yep.
getting his face out there and sharing his name and sharing his flyers and all those things. But at the same time, he's telling us there's no investigative need to have everybody necessarily be in one location searching, because they are to the
Right.
point where now they're on the investigative side of things.
Right.
And so
Right.
once it hits that level, is that when it's okay to like let them fall into the backstory? But
Right.
then we see cases where they fall into the backstory and it's never solved. I don't know.
Right.
So it's a constant debate that I
Well,
have in my mind.
it's something that I do the same. You and I've talked about it many times. And in theater and stuff like that, you would always hear the words, okay, all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
And in a way, you got to watch how you word that here, but
Yeah.
all information, all coverage is all coverage good coverage.
Right.
Okay, is it just, if you at least have the child or the adult's face out there and what happened and when they went missing? Yes, there are ethical boundaries that I don't think we should ever cross. Okay, but in the same point, you know, at some point you almost have to. It's like right now with Caleb. There's nothing happening with Caleb. But
Right.
you know what? There's a lot of speculation
But he's
going
still
on. And
missing.
in discussing, yeah, in
Mhm.
discussing that speculation, respectfully discussing that speculation, you're keeping his story out there, his case out there, his face out there, and you're keeping him relevant, which is what he should be. any human, whether they're missing or not, should be relevant.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, they matter. They matter. Their
Yep.
families matter. Like I don't know. And I guess, and that's where this reporter's kind of rubbing me the wrong way, because she is coming across like this is just a story to her,
And it's not.
right?
It's yeah. And you can see that with the police officer here.
Yeah,
It's not just a story to him.
the
It's not just
emotions.
a
Yep,
case here.
agreed.
Okay, yeah. Exactly. So yeah.
At all, it's more beneficial to have people working remote in a lot of these cases. A good example is it's easier for me to be working from my computer, for instance, to be reviewing videos on multiple screens than it is to be stuck on a small laptop in a command post where I don't have those resources.
Have you captured any video
I'm gonna
of
stop real
Elijah in the days
quickly,
leading up to
if
his
you don't
disappearance?
mind. Mama Kay, first of all, I'm sorry about your daughter going. Hopefully she's with you guys now. But yeah, I can see that. If your child, you just want their face everywhere. You want everyone talking about them no matter what, because at least they're there. The right person might see them. So thank you for sharing that.
Have you seen anything?
I'm not sure if we found video evidence of Elijah necessarily. There have been things that we found of interest, yes. But again, it's not something I can talk about as far as the investigation at this point.
And I guess video also need pictures, images, not just video.
Yeah. So when I talk about videos, videos alone is 10,000 plus video files that we've had. As you can imagine, with the technology today versus even say 5 years ago, with Ring doorbells, Blink cameras, things like that, you might have, in one time period, you might have hundreds of videos that you have to review. So that's just one example. But yeah, other people have different technology where it may be still frame pictures. I think
I always forget about trail cams. That's basically what he's referencing there. I always forget about trail cams. I'm sure they have those in this area because of how many woods and things like that. That's crazy. But
Yeah,
that's a lot
that
of video footage
is.
and stuff.
It is. It is. And you know what? That footage is becoming more and more important. I hate to keep going back to Caleb, but there's very little footage because it was so foggy that night. And you run into the same thing with nighttime when people go missing at nighttime, like in the case of Elijah. It affects the footage that you're seeing at the time. Now you might see some more footage during the daytime and all. But yeah, footage is becoming more and more important. And luckily we got cameras everywhere nowadays. And all.
everybody's seen stuff floating around. Obviously, one of those that was floating around, and yes, we had seen that too, was from Ross's Auto, for instance. That's a well-known picture that everybody's seen.
Yeah, he told me that he immediately, when he realized he was in that, reached out to you guys. Are those things still coming in, I guess?
Yeah, I will say they're not coming in like they had been. We're not getting as many tips. And that's why we continue to have conferences like we're having here today with you, is because I think he needs to stay in the forefront of everybody's minds until we find him.
Are you hopeful that you're going to find him?
I am hopeful that we're going to find him.
Do you feel like you're closer today than you were 52 days ago?
I can't say that, because until we find him, how can you say that? Unfortunately, that's what I wake up to every morning, is a different idea, a different thought, something that, maybe we can do, something different. Like I said this morning already, I was reaching out to DCI and having conversations about an idea that the family had and how we might be able to incorporate that and where.
God, he is like, I can't even imagine. Like you can tell he just deeply cares. He just really does. I mean, in his mind is going crazy like all of ours are. I guarantee it. Like he's sitting there every day and he's living it every moment.
This is his life. Yeah. This is his life. It's not just the 40 hours a week.
Right.
Okay. He's taking this home. He's dealing with it every day. When he's out on the weekends having fun with his kids, I guarantee you he's still thinking about this.
Yep.
And patriotism, you had asked about showing there really hasn't been much footage on this released. It is interesting to hear them say that there has been some footage, but they're not really discussing it per se. But yeah, very little shared.
Well, my thought went to the trail cameras. So the area that they found the blanket in is like the middle of freaking nowhere, right? And there's like all the woods and different stuff around there. And they were saying that it was already identified as like an area of interest before they found that blanket. And so it was somewhere that they were already kind of looking. And I'm wondering now, okay, was there trail cam
Is there
footage
footage there?
of like, or even just still shot pictures he mentioned,
Yep.
or something along those lines, either of the car being in that area, maybe Jesse being in that area.
Right.
Heck, it could have even been mom
Then,
kind of in
yeah,
that area. We have no clue.
yeah.
But yeah,
Something happened in that area. And not just that, the other thing that a lot of times we forget about is car video cam footage. It's not heavily used here in the US, but like in
right?
Korea and stuff like that, even here we have a few locations where people actually have video footage on their windshield.
Actually,
And
you're right.
who's to, yeah,
Naomi Arion's case. One of there's like a trucker who drove past who had her car on camera in the
right,
location that it was dumped.
right. And so see, and no one's going to think someone who may have caught something like that may literally be living in another state. They're driving from state to state or something like that. And if they know about the case, now they can go back and look at that video footage, see what they saw, knowing that. Click and go. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Oh, I love noob. Sorry. That's what it says on her little what. I love it. Thank you, my dear. Thank you for the donation, my dear. And I really appreciate that. And Barbara, I couldn't get the police from. Oh, wow. And they knew he was missing. He was found 5 months. I'm so
See, I
sorry,
hate
hon.
that, and that does happen in a lot of these cases. I really,
Yep.
truly, honestly believe that there needs to be a separate, like, a separate division of the police that is federally funded in every single county, state,
Yep.
locality that is dedicated just towards missing people, because unfortunately we have hundreds of thousands. And so there are a lot of cases that just never get the resources, never get the time
Mhm.
of day that they deserve to. And I think that that's where the public, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the news and things like that, that's
Nice.
where it plays a big part, because
Yeah.
once that public pressure to find that missing individual is there, and people are publicly pressuring the police, and I know that sounds
Yep.
horrible, because
But
back the
it's
blue,
true.
they do what they
Yeah.
can
And
with what resources they have. But some of these cases, I really honestly truly believe they would have never taken a second glance at
Mhm.
if it wasn't for the
Right.
public concern and pressure for them to look for that missing child.
Yeah. Yeah. Squeaky wheel gets the grease, plain and simple. And especially with adult missing people, because it's so easy for them to be thrown into runaway or on their own decision to leave or something like that.
Yep,
And by the time it's taken serious, it's
it's
too
too late.
late. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, there's been
Ugh.
several cases like that that I can think of that we've seen, that they would have never ever been
Never
mentioned
found.
or talked about or
Nope.
searched for. Actually, I literally just mentioned Naomi. The police wrote her off as a 19-year-old quote unquote runaway. She was
Run
off
away.
living her best life. She was
Right.
kidnapped and murdered. And her
Jeez.
brother had to find the initial footage of her being kidnapped.
Yeah.
And so it does suck, because we're in a situation where the police are dealing with so much other types of crimes. Then to add
Right.
600,000 missing people on top of that, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Barbara,
Oh,
I am
that's so
so
horrible,
sorry.
Barbara.
And that's the thing. And that is where others can help, because we get some people who have families who care, and they're going to be the ones who are pushing. Okay, just in the same way you have certain families who push for change afterwards, you get the same thing. When people go missing, you get some parents who are going to be, okay, or family members, children, whatever, who are going to push. Okay, my elderly mom went missing. I want to make sure I find her, and I'm going to be out there pushing and doing all that stuff. And those people do depend on local news channels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those things, because unfortunately, you don't always get it with law enforcement. They are limited in what they can. It's like right now, the 12-year-old I shared with you guys. I went over to Stolen Stuff Hawaii, and everyone's in there. Where's the Amber Alert? Where's the Amber Alert? They can't do an Amber Alert because it doesn't qualify.
Right.
So guess what? We take
It's up to
control of
us. Yeah,
getting it out.
we have to. It's
Yeah.
up to us to be the Amber Alert. Period.
Yeah. Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Where do you go from here? I mean,
You just continue to search and stay positive in those search efforts.
how hard is it to, I guess, positive that you're just going to find him, but might not necessarily find him alive?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we have to be open to all possibilities. I mean, clearly, some of these areas are not pleasant that we're searching. I wouldn't be happy if we found him in a sewer or a landfill, for instance. But at the same time, if that's where he is and we need
Find him.
closure, we will. You know, that we have to search those. We have to run down those tips and leads, regardless of how unpleasant they are, because we're at day 52 and we have to be open to all possibilities.
Are you, I mean, the main search is still here in Manitowoc County. You don't think that Elijah ever left Manitowoc County?
Well, we've obviously been searching in areas outside of Manitowoc County, so that's not necessarily correct. But yes, our primary focus has been Manitowoc County.
Do you think he's outside of Manitowoc County?
At this point, I have a strong belief the areas that we're searching are the correct areas, and we'll continue to search them.
Is there anything else you think is important that I haven't asked about?
I don't think so.
Where is that 15 to 20 mile area that you're kind of focusing your search on here in Manitowoc County?
Does have that feeling, Roberta.
Just
Is it
looking
in
through
the
to see
Two Rivers area? Is it more towards Manitowoc?
I was just looking to see if I had any notes for you. The 15 to 20 square miles that we've thoroughly searched have really been in more of the immediate area. I will say the family, again, we've stayed in close coordination with them, and they've searched a ton of Manitowoc County.
Yeah.
I would estimate probably half of the county, and we continue to do so. Some of that overlaps, some of it doesn't, but we all have the same search efforts in mind.
When the area where the blanket was found, there's a sign that says, under video surveillance. Were you hopeful when you went out there that that was going to help you, only to find out that the farmer doesn't actually have video?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of those cases where I'm hopeful that something would turn up and we'd have that, that clear tip or video or something. But in essence, yeah, that's just another one of those, small disappointments, I guess. But we run into that frequently, where people have a camera up and it doesn't work, for instance. And then when you have to investigate something, it does you no good.
Do you think Jesse Veng and Katrina Bauer were both involved in Elijah's disappearance?
I can't say that at this point.
I think I'm good unless.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's just so much I can't talk about with the investigation portion of it.
Yeah. I'm just waiting. Obviously you guys are working on it to put it out publicly.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Oh, love it.
The frustrating part is, in a lot of the social media, there's narratives out there that they're just not true. So we've been trying to stay as transparent as possible, whether it's interviews like this or putting out our social media posts as frequently as we can. And people still run with their own stories. And that's the biggest frustration.
Are there surveillance cameras in that building? That was one of the things that was online, that there's cameras in that building that would have captured anything, or that apartment smelled like bleach.
Yeah, I guarantee you that any of those things, if they're true, we know about them.
You know about it. Yeah.
Because the investigation can't share.
Correct.
And the blanket, you waited because I'm assuming waiting, I think the woman out front said, for DNA evidence or whatever to confirm that was in fact.
I can't confirm how it was confirmed that was Elijah's blanket, but yes, it took some time to confirm whether or not it was his blanket.
But it was, yeah.
Where does the investigation?
So, yeah, one of the things that I'm finding with this is, she's a interesting character. I know we've been talking in chat here, and the thoughts are both sides on it. I'm happy she did this interview. That interview keeps his name out there, no matter what. Okay. I'm wondering if sometimes when we speed up stuff, people come across.
That's true. I did
little-
think that afterwards that we had it at
Yeah.
1.25. So maybe she wasn't as harsh as she was sounding.
Yeah. And that does happen. It'd be interesting to go back later on my own. I might actually in the car later when I head to rehearsal, listen to see, because it does feel like the empathy bit. But on the other hand, she could also just be the type that's like, I need the story. I got to get the story. And there are people out there like that. So you don't know. but at
I
least
love
the
that
story is
that
there.
the camera guy for the last minute was like, "Oh, I should probably get her on camera."
Get her in the camera. That was the
Like,
best. That was the best. We'll get the Two Rivers Strong bracelet, and then we got to go get her, and then we got that one shot I could intersperse whenever I need to. So, but
jeez.
yeah, no, there's definitely a couple of the different things. Like we said, Jesse Veng did plead not guilty on the neglect charges today. Because, of course, we don't have a lot of these other charges yet, but we
Mhm.
do have the neglect. So they are going to go ahead, trial, all that. Benefit fundraiser is going to be happening this week. So if anyone's in the area and would like to go, please go support. And then last Saturday they had a vigil for him, and we're going to run out of time to show things. So what I might do is cut out part of that and create a short or something, or at least share the link later so people can see bits and pieces of that vigil, because it was gorgeous. It was
Right.
really gorgeous. So yeah. So any
Watch
last
her not
thoughts you
even be
have
like
on
a reporter. Maybe it's like his wife just doing a question and answer with him so that they could put
that's
it out.
it?
Like, who
Exactly,
knows?
exactly.
Who knows? We could
And
be
you know
reading
what?
too much into all of it. Um,
Exactly. And click and go, you're right. She could be a nervous someone. Maybe she's never had to cover a case like this before.
right.
It's scary your first time you go live or you start covering something or things like that. It's scary. So yeah, that could definitely be good point there. So
All right. Well,
yeah.
let's jump over to Caleb because I think he had the
Caleb
second most votes there.
votes there. So yep, Caleb it is. So Caleb, I don't have any videos here. This is more or less for us to kind of sit and discuss a couple things and everything on Caleb. I kind of have been going through, there hasn't been much updates, but I've noticed a lot of people have been writing comments on the videos that I've done on Caleb, wanting to discuss things. I went through and tried to get an idea. What are some of the top, and I came up with 6 different ideas of what people are thinking happened to him. And as many of you guys know, he went out in the middle of the night to pick up his Uber Eats and he disappeared. It was a really foggy night. Seems like, and Sleuth, let me know if you can think of any other additional ones, but the 6 things
Well,
that
I was
people,
going to
yeah,
say,
go for it, Sleuth.
I'm curious, like in the chat, out of everybody who's heard about
Yes,
this,
that's where
what are you guys' top theories? Maybe before we tell them what the top theories are.
I'm actually, in fact, I'm going to create a little poll here and see what people have. So start telling us your story so I can actually create that poll.
Yeah,
And
no,
somehow.
and that's what I was just kind of thinking. And so just to remind you, like, completely of the details, Caleb
Yep.
Harris has been missing since
He's been missing just over a month at this point, if
oh
I
my gosh.
remember
Of course,
right.
the article that I pulled up, it's like
Does not have it, of
it went no,
course.
well, no, it wants to like keep like, putting up an ad or whatever. So he's been missing since in Corpus Christi, Texas, since
March
between
4th.
2 a.m. and
Yep.
2:45 a.m. on March 4th. Um, it says his dad is quoted in saying, it says, the only item that we are missing, we have his keys, we have his truck, or the truck, it's locked. The dog is back in the apartment. There's nothing else missing except for Caleb and his phone. Everything else is accounted for. Now
Yep.
the fact that his phone had its last ping like on a bridge, and so we were all worried, like, well, I was anyways, because I was like, oh no, he could
Right.
have like fallen into the water. But then we seen the water is like 6 inches deep. There's no water.
No
There was
way.
no
No
falling
way.
off the bridge. It was like 3 feet off the
Exactly.
ground. Um,
Exactly.
so there was all that. But really, it's just a complete and total mystery. So far, the police have come out and said that it's
Yep.
not the roommates, it's not the Uber Eats, and it's not the last person that he was talking to on Snapchat,
Right.
which was at 2:44 a.m. Um, was
That all have been cleared. Yep.
all have been cleared. And so then it leaves us with where is Caleb? And what's you guys' thoughts on this? Like, I'm really
Yep.
curious.
And to answer the question, BC, what BC is bringing up is something else that has been coming out lately. A lot of different places have been addressing this, that he was trying to find a date, that he had been on Reddit and had asked, hey, you know what, I'd like to meet up with someone at some point. So did he try to meet up with someone and that someone was not the best person? and something happened to him from there. So that is
Oh, like a
what.
catfish type of situation.
Yes, exactly. And what they're showing is that he had, I don't have the picture of it, I accidentally didn't do it, but it was talking about how he wanted to have someone he can meet at the beach or on a bench. And it was, of course, okay, it's like the M for F if you're doing Reddit dating, that's how you do it. Okay. So
Hmm.
he had all that stuff there, and there
I didn't even
was
know Reddit
a
dating was a
couple.
thing, just so you
I
know.
didn't either. I didn't either. I'm like, oh, that's where I need to go then, I guess. So, and but yeah, that's something that is becoming more and more of a possibility. Again, we don't know. Now have the police looked at it? I have a funny feeling they probably have again. Another one of those things that they have looked at his computer. They have looked at all these different things. We don't have a phone for them to look at, but they do have his computer.
So that actually makes
And
me think now that I hear that, because
mhm,
if they were immediately able to come out and tell us, "Hey, we're not looking at the roommates, we're not looking at the sister, we're not looking at the Uber driver," is it
mhm,
because they know an online persona or identity that they may be looking at?
mhm, exactly. And that's very possible. Okay, there were a couple responses there. And would that make sense that he decided at that time to go meet up with the person? Now, some people have said, but he was barefoot. Why would he go out barefoot to meet up with someone at all? Very fair point. Very fair point. I did just add that though to the right now for what do you think happened to Caleb? He met someone and something bad happened. Hit by the other idea that, well, actually, let's see, what do we have people saying here? We've got BC. If it is a thing, then this is a good reason not to. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like any dating online. We're all used to online dating, but you take steps to make sure that you're safe. Never meeting someone at 3 a.m. probably not the best thing to do if that is what happened. Patriotism, yeah, and there is. I found what was interesting with that patriotism, with people going quiet and all, right about the quiet happened when they decided they made a decision to, instead of focus on the smaller regional interviews, things like that, they wanted to focus on the national level. And at that point, things started getting quieter at that point. So I'm not sure if that's connected or not. Um,
They may have a
yeah,
social, like a not a social media, but they may have a family
yeah, or
advocate
personal.
that's helping
They do.
dictate where they're going now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And so a lot of times families will come to YouTube, they'll come to different social
that's what
media
happened.
sites and things like that. But then once they get linked up with a PR person who knows how to protect these families and knows,
Right.
where they need to go and what they need to do and things like that, so that they don't turn into a Sebastian case. um they do direct the families, yeah, stay away from social media. Here's
Right.
this, we got you hooked up with this reporter at this time, this reporter at that time, things like that. And so I don't put that much suspicion into when families do go quiet, especially if they're still talking to national media and
Right.
things like
Right.
that. Just because I've been behind the scenes
The
talking
scenes on it.
to families and seen whenever things start to change and stuff like that. I know that, for example, Missing in America, whenever they get on helping with families and things
Right.
like that, there's one or two creators for a while there that they were trusting to do interviews for them and things like that. But
Right.
outside of that, for the most part, they do instruct people, hey, let us do the posting, let us share the face and stuff like that, kind of
Right.
communicate through us rather than putting yourself out there for public speculation and the court of public opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And that did happen. Okay, they did have someone locally, family friend, who did step up and kind of take the lead in a lot of that. So, or on the other hand, could police be saying maybe they are looking at some other options now? And because of that, they're approaching things differently. What I just did for you guys, because I can only put 4 things on the poll, so I'm going to actually put this poll out right now. We have 4 choices on it, but there's some other ones I'm going to throw out there also. And I want to see what else you guys, what do you think happened to Caleb? Did he meet someone and something bad happened? Was he hit by a car and hit? A lot of people have wondered, did he go out because it was very, very foggy that night? So did he go out and something happens? He was hit by accident and someone freaked out. And instead of doing a hit and run type of situation, they did a hit and hide situation. Other than that, abduction, a lot of thoughts on that out there. And then last was, okay, did he, wait, sorry, I just disappeared on purpose. Okay, you know, teenagers do at those times. Okay, runaway is a possibility. Do we think it really happened in this case? Myself, I don't see that as much. But it's a possibility. So Barbara, I'm kind of also looking at chat right now. So Barbara, you're saying police even told you to stay away from people when talking. And there are thoughts behind that. Okay, especially with the way the internet works. And but I think right now keeping people in the, because right now Caleb is disappearing completely from the public eye. It definitely is happening on that level. So but yeah, the whole idea with things going with him, a lot of people locally, a lot of college students are very involved in wanting to know what's happening. A lot of college, I've actually gotten a couple messages lately, Sleuth, from local students who are worried themselves because with the lack, kind of like what happened with Jillian and Veronica, with people not knowing what happened, they're left wondering, is there something out there that might hurt me? And thank you, thank you. And so they're wanting to know, is there someone out there that hurt him that now may come after us? And I've actually gotten a few comments from people about that. I'm coming up here and pulling this up right now. Sorry, just pulling up about Timmy. And yeah, sorry. I'm just pulling things up. So yeah, so for those people who don't know, I'm actually going to pull up real quickly Barbara's son, because I know a lot of people have. Thank you, Sleuth. And let me pull it up real quick.
Looks like there was recently a podcast done by the Lawless Files on February 28th, 2024. They did a podcast as well. And so I'll give you guys a link to this. It's about Timmy D's, about
Timmy.
Barbara's son that she's talking about in the chat here. Just the mystery behind, you know, what could have happened to her son.
Right.
And so this article that I pulled up, it was one of the more in-depth articles about the case. I don't know if you want to read down through this instead of moving on to
Yeah, let's
the
do that.
missing
Let's do
piece,
that.
and then
Yeah.
that way we can go ahead.
No, that works. That works. Yeah, we can do that one instead. So this is actually what we've been talking. So Barbara had already had the year from hell when her 26-year-old son Timmy went missing in February. Dees had grown up in southeast Missouri, not far from Fredericktown, a city of 4,000, about nice small town, yeah, in St. Louis. But when he turned 18, he wanted to work and found few opportunities. He moved to the St. Louis suburb of Crèvecoeur, which over the course of 8 years, he became a rigger, setting up stages for concerts. Music was his passion, and after becoming part of the stagehand union, it looked like he was able to work. So I can completely get that, being from theater and all. When you've got that love for that and being able to just throw yourself into it, it's not work at that point. And knowing that you can make your living off of that, anyone who's been in entertainment, the moment you realize you can make a living off of that, that had to make him so happy.
Right.
Just crazy. On June 19th, 2021, his older brother Michael died of an overdose. He'd long battled mental health issues and addiction, and the whole family grieved. Dee's got a tattoo of a pizza roll and a ranch dressing bottle on his calf, a tribute to his brother's favorite food. He said that if he ever had a son, he'd name him Michael, after his big brother.
I'm so sorry, Barbara. That means she lost two of her sons.
Two sons, and so that, saying prayers for you for sure, because that's not something I think anyone would ever get over. And so I'm sorry, my dear. In February, Timmy was very upset, stayed upset. He told me he wished he'd stepped in and done more to help his brother, but there's nothing he could have done, which is true, unfortunately. Okay, we want to be there, but we got to also realize we only have so much control over
Right.
things.
Especially
And
whenever it comes to mental health
yeah,
and addiction on top of that. There's
yep.
it's
You
so
can do
important.
some, but yeah,
Right.
you
It's so
can't blame
important for them to
yourself.
get help on their own, honestly. It,
Yep.
it just you can do so many things to try to intervene for them, but
Yeah.
it really comes down to that individual person's want and
Yep.
desire.
Exactly. Exactly. You can't make people do anything, and they themselves may want to. We see this with people who are dealing with addiction. They
Mhm.
want to make the changes, but until they find that place in their life where they can, okay, you can try to support, but they still fight the same demons over and over until they get to that place. So you just try to do what you can. And the fact that he was willing to get tattoos and all shows he was doing everything he could have. In February of this year, one of Dee's friends from Frederickstown offered to pick him up and take him back to his old stomping grounds for the weekend. Dees was eager for the change in scenery. He mentioned the planned trip to his mom, Barbara, during one of their almost daily phone calls. On Friday, February 25th, Dees and his friend drove down to Frederickstown. When Dees didn't call his mom Barbara over the weekend, she took note but didn't worry. He was out with his friend. She understood, but she began getting nervous on Monday when she still didn't hear from him. She called her son's phone but couldn't leave a message because he hadn't set up his voicemail. And that was not new, but suddenly her text messages weren't going through either. That would definitely, yeah, cutting off all communication with him would have probably put, I think, any of us into that freak out zone at that point. And by Tuesday, she felt physically sick. Something felt bad, something felt wrong. And on Wednesday, March 2nd, she reported him missing. The information about her son's weekend in the Fredericktown area is hazy, and even 2 months later, Hall doesn't fully know what happened. A few days after she reported her son missing, she got a call from the friend who had taken Dees to Frederickstown. He had been arrested on a warrant unrelated to the disappearance. He called her over the jail's video conferencing system, and Hall recorded the call. In the video, his hair is long and unkempt, his face stubbled. I'm going to do everything I can to look for him, he said. I'm worried, Barb. I love you. I love him. I don't want you to think I do anything to hurt him. The call had been made in the early days after Dee's disappearance, Hall said, when she still held out hope he might be found alive. Why would he say he'd never hurt him? Hall asked. That actually was
Oh,
the
that's
thought
weird. It
that
is a
popped
weird
into my
statement.
head.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was, in fact, as I was reading, I was like, wait, am I reading this wrong? So, what did he mean by that? Surveillance video, along with police and phone records, paint a partial picture of the hours leading up to the disappearance. And that's what, so when you're in those early hours, you don't know what matters in words that are said by people and what doesn't, or are you reading things wrong or things like that. Around 1 a.m. on the morning of Monday, the 28th, Dees was seen on security camera footage at a gas station in Fredericktown. Dees withdrew $160 out of the gas station ATM at 1:30 in the morning and played the video slot machines. Fredericktown Police Chief Eric Hovas confirmed the surveillance video, saying that Dees was positively identified on it and he looked happy, healthy, and alive. About 3 hours later, at 4:40 a.m., someone made a 911 call from Dee's phone. The call went to Madison County Sheriff's Department dispatch but was not recorded. According to the dispatcher, a frantic voice on the other end said, "Someone is chasing me." Since the call wasn't recorded, no one knows for sure if the voice belonged to Dees or if someone else was calling from his phone. Wow.
Wow. Oh, that's freaking
Wow.
scary.
That
And what are the
is,
chances?
why
Because it was made
not
to why wasn't it recorded? Like, that's
recorded?
weird to me.
Yeah. That is, yeah, not to be recorded. I
Oh,
mean,
here it
because
is. Back in December, our 911 recorder went down.
went
That makes
down
sense.
right there. wants to read the next sentence,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. This is what happens to us as we're reading through things. And so their 911 recorder went down. It took 4 months to get a new one replaced. Wow. That long to get wow. I ordered it in January. It got installed in the middle of March. Jeez. After the call, Hall said deputies with the sheriff department responded to a house on Village Creek Road in Madison County, north of Fredericktown. There, the deputies arrested the friend Dees had traveled to Fredericktown with on an outstanding warrant. Others present at the scene said that Dees had been there earlier in the night but had already taken off. And now it's like he's vanished, Hall said. Within a few days, Hall was down in Madison County, yeah, I bet, and searching for her son for herself. She basically never left. Wow. Yeah. Right away. And we hear this, unfortunately, how many families have to go down and do the searching themselves because, and in this case, you had all of these red flags on top of it. And you were being told, don't talk to people or just do this and all those things. Okay. In a case of where they can just throw in the runaway idea, all the families have is to go down themselves also. The 3-story red brick Madison County Courthouse sits at the heart of Fredericktown. An impressive bell tower rises 1 story above the rest of the structure, making the courthouse easy to mistake for a church from a distance. It's encircled by a roundabout where Fredericktown's east, west, north, and south main streets all converge. These days, it's impossible to walk for more than a few feet on any of the 4 streets and not see a photo of Timmy. His mother has blanketed the town with them. On a sunny April afternoon, she arrived and began her usual routine. Using bungee cords, she attaches large posters of her son to the light poles dotting the roundabout. Help bring me home, the posters read. Hall and her boyfriend, Jimmy Moyers, retrieved 2 camping chairs from the back of their car and set them out in the grass in front of the courthouse. They sit for the rest of the day, passing out flyers advertising a $10,000 reward to anyone who can help find Dees. Hall has been at the courthouse every day for the past 6 weeks, except Sundays and days when it rains. For the most part, everyone in town already has a flyer. Almost every business has one in its front window. Barbara is saying, I got the paperwork back since then, and then it says my friends, oh, wow, threatening, wow. A week prior, Hall went to around 20 houses in the area near where her son was last reported to be and got those homeowners to sign documents giving volunteers permission to search their properties. She organized a search, followed by another with trained dogs. Her effort to close her son's case is nothing short of heroic. I'm not going away, she says. I can tell you that. I don't believe my son's alive anymore, and he's all I had left. At this point, what are they going to do? Kill me? That would be putting me out of my misery because getting up every day living this stuff is a nightmare. Barb, we're all giving you hugs. I wish I could give you a hug right now.
Absolutely.
Really
and actually, this article, like, it continues to talk about him missing still. I did just share
wow.
another one with you from after
Okay.
he was found deceased. And so just wanted to give everybody like a brief overview, but there is a really good podcast, it looks like, from
Yeah, thank you.
the Lawless Files that has the entire story. Looks like it's an hour and 3 minutes long. So let me give you guys the link for that in the chat again.
Thank you.
Because it's just devastating. And it sounds like
Oh,
they did a phenomenal job breaking down the whole story and getting his story out there. Barb, I hope that I don't know. I hope that you're able to get some type of answers
yeah.
about what happened. Oh, that looks like you need a subscriber. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
find one that
I
doesn't
think
need a subscriber.
And Barb, what is important is you're still out here. You're still speaking for him.
Yep.
You're still, because those are the things that make the changes. Those are the things that make people start thinking, okay, and realizing what has to happen. Okay, if God forbid I got it, Sleuth. If God forbid another family member has someone go missing, they can look to you and be like, okay, this is
She never
I'm
gave
not
up.
alone. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not alone. I don't have to give up. I can keep fighting. I can keep being there.
And keep pushing
And
for
yeah,
answers. I mean,
yeah,
so they
exactly.
found him. So he went missing initially in February 28th after that 911 call. He wasn't found until July. There's several months of him missing
Wow.
before they located him.
Be that of a missing Creve Coeur man. Our sister station KMOV confirms with the Missouri Highway Patrol that forensics indicate the remains do in fact belong to 26-year-old Timothy Dees, who's been missing for months. The video you're looking at right now is just from this past weekend. Dees' friends and families trying to raise awareness about his missing persons case. Dees was last seen at a Fredericktown gas station February 28th. According to the Missouri State Highway Patrol, the skeletal remains were found this morning on private property. No other details about the case are being released at this time, but the investigation continues.
Wow.
Wow.
So skeletal
Wow.
already by the time he was found.
Right. Red hearts in chat, guys, for Timmy. And I just put in the justice for Timmy Dees. Barbara, maybe sometime you can kind of help. I need to go back and reread a lot of stuff as to what's happened since.
Mhm.
Okay, what is justice going to look like?
Right.
Okay, what
And that's
is
something,
your picture
honestly,
of
if you
justice?
would ever want to
Here.
come up and
Yeah.
talk about Timmy and
Yes.
use our platform to help push his story
Okay.
out for whatever type of justice or whatever
Exactly.
semblance of awareness that we can help bring, please, feel free to reach out to either one of us. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you're in Lokomai's Discord,
Yeah.
or you could also email either one of
Either one of
email
us.
Lokomai. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Email either of us. I mean, we could do it. We could do it even on a Wednesday or something if you would like
Yep.
to. Because yes, Barb, he deserves justice. And you know what that justice needs to look like. Okay. And telling his story keeps him and his memory alive also. So let
Yes.
us know if you ever would like, okay, to be able to talk. Let us know. But yeah, Delana is also, see, I can't believe my daughter and I just listened to this and stuck with me. And now I find out, yeah, you never know. That's the thing. We all never know how things connect with me. Everyone thinks it's always someone else. And
Mhm.
if there's one thing Sleuth and I have learned over the years, it's not always someone else's child. Okay. It ends up becoming people that you know. And God forbid, even you. So they've closed the case and told me to no. That's the problem. They won't do anything. Bob Miller from the Lawless Files has been amazing to you. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah. And okay, what has to happen for those to be reopened? What's the thought? Because yeah, you would think, geez, it doesn't make sense that they would just shut down the case. A case is not solved until it's solved and
Right.
there is justice. That's the closure. That's not, well, to be honest, that's not even the closure of a case, but at
Mhm.
least it gets us to a certain place. What, you know what, Barbara, let us know. Let us know. I mean, we have community tabs, we have our channels, we have Facebook. I mean,
And
you've
it doesn't
got
just
a whole
stop with
group
our
of
2
us.
channels. Like, we both have
No,
a lot
exactly.
of channels that could help as well, like coverage and
It's an
things like
army.
that. You just say the word and let
Yep.
us know, because we
It's
both
there
have a lot of friends on all types of different sides of
all
these
over.
YouTube streets.
Yeah.
So,
It's a whole army. And that's what when you look at the true crime community, that's what we should be, is an army for justice. That's what it comes down to. And yeah, Sleuth knows tons of people. I know some people. You've got an army behind you. And all. So, and Bob, yeah, Bob is great.
yeah,
And
I'm glad that
so
he's been helping you out. So,
amazing. That
I
is
appreciate
great. So
you being open to share your
yes.
story in the chat here, and just being so willing to just to talk. I know that's hard, especially we never know who is listening in our
No.
chats, and we never know if it's a victim's family member or someone who has a story or things like that, and I appreciate that you felt comfortable to even open up in the
Yes.
chat to everybody. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, totally, totally. And we are all one community in the end. And having a safe place for people is what's important. Yeah, especially when they don't even know what happened.
Right.
It has to be a nightmare. And when you don't have answers, that's not that's the case is not closed if there's no answers.
Right.
And so it might be cold, maybe that's what they call it, but don't shut it down. That doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
oh gosh. Well, definitely let us know. Let us know about things. And if there's anything we can do to help you with it.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen you come in and post justice for Timmy, and now I see the
Now
full
it makes
picture.
sense. Yeah. Now it makes sense.
It does.
And so thank you, Loco, for actually pulling
Yeah.
that up and letting us kind of
Yeah, that's
sidebar a
more
little bit
important.
away from Veronica and Jillian a
There's
little bit.
others hey, there's enough people covering Jillian and Veronica and all that. We'll still cover, as most of you guys do know. Okay, bond was no, they're not getting bond. It does seem, I did just to let you guys know. We all know the judge. There was a judge that actually lost their job over this, and we'll come back. Maybe what I'll do is on Friday we'll talk about that case. But
I like that idea.
right
Yep.
now, this is more of the importance. No, this was what was important here, and this is needed said right here.
Agreed.
Thank you so much, my dear. And Barbara, we're all sending you hugs also, and also. Oh, well, it didn't type it up right. I tried to type it up right, but it didn't quite work. And also, okay, but I do need to get to rehearsal. And we're getting closer and closer to time that I have to drive into town. And you never know how long that's going to last. So, but thank you, Miss Sleuth, for joining us today. I always enjoy having you over here on Wednesdays.
Thank you for having me.
And also, I will know. Thank you. I enjoy our Wednesdays. I actually really
I do
enjoy
too.
our Wednesdays, no matter where we are. So you got it. So, well, hope you guys all have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you on Friday. Sleuth will probably see you on her channel. What, tomorrow morning? Maybe.
Like probably like 2-ish.
Oh, okay. Morning for me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What can I say? Okay, I will talk to y'all later. Barbara, we're thinking about you. We love you, and we're sending you all the love and support that you can get from us. We're here for you. Love all of you guys, and we will talk to you later.
Bye to
Aloha.
everybody.
Bye.
Later.
Oh.